Hi everyone, my name is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another behind the scenes video. Today I'm going to take you along as I make the embeds for the next soap. The next one is going to be a moon embed soap. So we're going to make some moons, and I'm also going to make some little mushrooms to go on the top of the soap as well. Let's go. Let's get this moon in bed done. It is going to be a very simple one. I've got about 600 grams worth of oils in here, and I'm just pouring in my sodium hydroxide distilled water solution. I've also got my little bit of tussar silk to add that little bit of slip. I'm going to mix this up, and then we're going to split it out just for a little bit of colouring to give that moon a little bit of texture. Colour I am going to split out is a little bit of Silver Lake, because I'm going to do a little bit of a drop swirl with that one. I am also going to add a mica drop swirl into this. I have got some vintage rose mica in here, and I've mixed that up with just a little bit of olive oil, and this has a beautiful pinkish but goldish tinge to it, and I thought that was going to be absolutely perfect for this moon soap. We are coming into spring. In fact, by the time this video is up, we will be in spring, so I thought that it would be the perfect sort of colouring for a spring moon. Into my big one, I am going to put in some titanium dioxide. I think I need a new bottle because this one is dripping all over the place. Pop it in the sink so it doesn't make much more of a mess. We're all fingers and thumbs this morning. I am going to get that white mixed in, the grey, and then I'm going to stir in my fragrance oil before we start pouring into our PVC mould. I have been really debating whether to use today's fragrance oil or not, but at the end of the day I'm going to have to use it at some point, so I am going to go ahead. I am using Moonchild. Now this one has notes of grapefruit, bergamot, thyme, white tea, nutmeg, rose, honey, tuberose and jasmine. Now this particular fragrance oil, this is not the brambleberry one. This is another one of those dreaded Aussie soap supplies ones. But when I did my tester, this one did some really weird things. It says in the notes that it is well behaving, which, you know, it actually was. I think this is one of the very few that behaved well, but you watch now. I've said that this is just going to misbehave, but it said in the notes that it goes mauve and then fades out. Now you can see that this kind of does go a little bit mauvey, but if you followed along with me on Instagram, and this was quite some time ago when I did these tests, so it was well over sort of 4, almost 8 weeks by the time this video goes out, it went bright yellow. It didn't go mauve. I don't know whether I've just got the wrong idea of what mauve looks like, but it certainly did not go mauve. It went bright yellow. So I left it sitting on the cure rack. 4 weeks later, that bright yellow has actually faded out, and it just has that glow of yellow about it, which I thought was actually quite fitting for a moon colour. The reason I've been a little bit hesitant about making it, I've had this design in my head for a little while. I'll talk a bit more about the design when it actually comes to making the main soap. But I have put a lot of time and energy into doing the embeds. And one of the things about this fragrance oil, even out of the bottle, it's actually quite mild. It's not the strongest of aromas, and after it finished curing, it still wasn't particularly strong. And I've put so much time and energy into the embeds. I really want this to work and be nice, but I figured there's lots of people out there who actually don't like really strong soap fragrances, so we're going to go ahead and use it anyway. And at the end of the day, this fragrance oil, it still actually needs using. Whether I use it in this soap or another one, I'm still going to have that same problem. What I'm going to do is pour this into my PVC mold. I've got a little bit of biofilm covering the end, which holds my cap in nice and tight, and I've lined it with a little bit of greaseproof paper. So I've done my in the pot swirl in my white here, going to pour about half of that. We'll stop there. We'll pour the rest of this grey pinky mix in here so we get a nice swirl all the way to the top of our moon. So as you can see, this fragrance oil is actually playing nice. So there were some nice behaving fragrances, but the only offside with this one, it's not very strong. It's certainly not very strong out of the bottle either. And it does go this really, really bright yellow, which I will be able to show you once this one sets up. Let me get this scraped out and get my PVC mould completely filled up. Okay, we are completely filled right up to the very top. No miscalculations on this one, like on some of the past. I'm going to leave this one sit here for, well, it'll end up being about 48 hours. I'm doing an early morning Saturday soaping session. Just felt like doing it. I've got markets tomorrow on Sunday, so I'll come back in about 48 hours and pull this out of the mould. Alright, it is time to get our moon out of our PVC pipe. I have taken the end cap off. It does get a little bit tight on there, so I usually have to get a hammer and gently knock it off there. But let's get it out and have a look. Hopefully it's going to slide. Ooh, let's try from this end. Kid you not, guys, this has taken me 36 hours to get out of that PVC mold. I have absolutely no idea why. I've checked inside the mold, there was no leakage. I really don't know why this got stuck. The only thing I can think of is that this fragrance oil it did behave well. It stayed nice and soft, but I think it has stayed way too soft to be able to actually do a PVC mold soap. I really should have added some sodium lactate into it, but we've got it out. As I said, I have got a little bit of damage down this end, but I don't think that's really going to matter because I've still got a little bit of round on there. I had to actually get another piece of PVC pipe to bash this out. Between hubby and I, we had the mallet on it, trying to hammer it out of here. We tried everything to get this out and it just wasn't coming out. I put it in the freezer and it was in there for about 2 hours, so it should have been a nice and hard, easy to pull out. And no, it just did not want to come out. But I eventually got it out, so we are almost set for doing this soap. What I'm going to do is just trim off the very end of this, and thankfully it is looking really, really pretty. I love how that pinky colour's gone very purple in this. And I'm wondering if that is attributed to this particular fragrance oil. We will wait and see. Now what I'm going to do is actually trim this down to fit into my soap mold. So we'll grab that one here. Grab myself a little marker. So I'm just going to use my little skewer here to do it. I am going to butt this end up against the edge of my mold. Oh, and we actually don't need to trim any off here really. That is going to give me a nice fit in there with just what I have taken off. So that is really, really good. I am just going to tidy the end up a little bit on here. So, because I don't think it's going to be seen on my soap, but it is nice just to have it nice and flush. So now that I finally have this moon embed ready to go, I'm now going to show you how I'm making the next embeds to go on this soap. Okay, so the embeds that we're going to make are some little mushrooms, and I've already got my soap dough. I have got some white and I have got some red. So first thing I'm going to do is get my red out of here, and I want to cut myself off some pieces which are about 3 grams in weight. I like to weigh out my soap dough just to make sure that all of my embeds are roughly the same size, and I found that doing it this way is actually the best. So almost there, a little bit too much. So it's about roughly 3 grams, so it doesn't matter if it's like 3.2 or something, but it just makes sure that we are getting the right sort of size. So I'm going to weigh myself out 5 of these because I've already done some of the embeds as I usually do. So I'm going to do 5 pieces of this white at 3 grams, and then I am going to measure off some of the red as well, and I am going to measure that one off at about 4 grams per little bundle here. Okay, so now that we've got all of our pieces all done out, I'm going to start off with my white first, just so I don't contaminate it with the red. I'm just going to roll it into almost like an oval shape for my white. I'm going to just pop it down on my mat here, and I'm just going to shape what would be the bottom of my mushroom. I want it to be quite wide because I want it to be nice and firm and strong when we make them, so that they don't get broken on my soap. But I'm also making sure that I keep them to well under that sort of 2.5 centimeters, so that I don't cut them on my soap cutter when we go to cut the soap later. So let's get all of these white ones rolled out. This last white one. So when I am actually shaping them, I'm making sure the top comes up into a bit of a point, and this is just going to make it easier to attach the top of our mushrooms onto the red or onto the base of here. So I've got a little bulbous bottom there, and then we've got the little tops. It's almost like a teardrop shape with a flat bottom. So we've got those ones done up. Now we're going to move on to the red, and for the red ones I'm going to once again start by rolling it into a ball, and then we're going to shape them into the mushroom tops. I have got some white soap on my hands. Let's get that squished back in so we don't end up with a white mushroom. And what I'm going to do is, just before I do any more, I'm just going to go wash my hands, get rid of that white. Okay, so I have got my hands all cleaned back off again from off that white. It's not that the colour has actually stained, it's just some of the residual soap that's stuck to my hands from rolling into a ball. I do try and wash my hands in between each of the colours. I just didn't do it that time because I didn't quite think about the white there. So what I'm going to do, I've rolled that into a bit of a ball shape, and what I'm going to do is I want to keep the bottom fairly flat, and I want to kind of shape it into a top of a mushroom. So kind of keeping the bottom flat and then making a bit of a half circle. I mean, you probably could actually just roll a circle and then cut them in half to do it that way. But I find doing it this way, your mushrooms end up all different sort of looks, and you get all these different bobbly bits on the top, and it gives it this real sort of individual, unique look to them. So there's number one. Let's get the next few done here as well, and then I'll show you how I'm going to attach them. Now I've got myself a little cup of some distilled water, and I've got myself one of these little fondant shaping tools with the balls on the end. What I'm going to do is just dip the ball end into my water. I'm going to flip my little mushroom lid over, and I'm going to make a hole. Now the idea of putting the water on the ball is A, that it doesn't actually stick, and 2, it creates this sort of glue to glue the two parts together. And I'm just taking the bottom of my mushroom and popping it on the inside like that, and there is our first little mushroom done. So I'm going to do that with all of them. So again, making sure I've got the little ball tool wet to A, stop it from sticking, and also to make like a little bit of glue. I'm making sure that the hole is big enough that we can insert the top of our little mushroom stem, and that's why I make these go up into a little point, because then they nicely sit inside that little hole, and then it all sticks together nicely. So let me get these 3 done, and then we're just going to add a little finishing touch to these. Okay, so now we've got all of our little mushrooms done up. I am going to add a little bit of a finishing touch. So I am going to grab my little skewer here, and using the flat end, I've already done a few, which is why it's got red. I'm going to dip that into my water, and I'm just going to make some random little holes over the top of all of these little mushroom heads. You can do as many or as few as you want. Just stop when you are happy. So let's get all of these ones poked in here. Okay, so now we've got all our little holes in there. I'm going to come back to this original white that we were using. You really don't need a lot, so I'm just going to start off with a little bit to start with, and I'm just going to start by rolling it out thinly, but not too thin, just as thin as I can get it on my hand. Let's get rid of that piece. And now that I have got that kind of rolled out there, I have got myself a little craft knife, and I'm just going to very, very gently take the very tip of it off. And please be careful if you're doing this not to actually cut yourself. Just going to roll that little piece off, and then I'm going to stick it into the little hole that we've made, and then I'll just smooth it out so that they look like little the round little spots that you can get on these mushrooms. So let's pop you in there. I'm just going to fill them all up, and as you're filling it up, if you decide that you need to put a few more white spots on there, maybe you've got them in the wrong place or anything like that. If you've got them in the wrong place, just smooth that little hole over and then put another one somewhere else, or you can always put more little holes on your mushrooms and put as many little spots as you want, or you could actually do them with orange spots. The possibilities are absolutely limitless with these. Let me get these filled up with their little spots here. Then I'll give you a bit of a close-up of this mushroom once it's finished. Oh, and here is our little mushroom all finished up. So let me get the rest of these little ones done up as well. So that is the remaining 5 mushrooms done that I need for the soaps. We've got those little mushrooms. I have got the moon embed all ready to go. I have also done some extra little mushrooms. So we've got some cute little ones. And I also have some little flowers that I am going to put on here as well. And these have all been made with some soap dough. These were cut out using some little cookie plunger things. So now I have everything ready to go. In the next soap, I'm going to go and get the oils ready to do that. I hope you have enjoyed watching how I made these embeds, and until the next video comes out, I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you then. Bye.